watching Northern Student TV. I'm Josie Terry. First, on today's show, we go on location with Sydney and Emily to get their tips on how to be an adult.
This is On Location with Sydney South
and Emily Dukek. Today we're going to be giving you 10 tips on how to be an adult. Tip number 1, buy a bunch of groceries that you can't make a solid meal with.
Make sure you pay your bills past due.
Panic when you don't have enough money to pay your bills, but then still go out to eat with your friends.
Okay. Sleep into the last possible minute and then leave your house.
Replace all of your meals with coffee.
Forget all your responsibilities and take a nap.
Complain that you don't get enough hours at work, but then when somebody asks you to pick up their shift, say no.
Procrastinate everything.
Buy a planner and then never use it.
And the last tip, just accept the fact that you'll never have your life together. This was On Location with Sydney South
and Emily Dukek. Back to you.
Sleep until the last possible minute and then cows.
That was something else. Thank you. Now, as we start transitioning into the colder months, CJ gives us a wrap-up on what happens for fall sports.
For NSTV Sports, I'm CJ Baumgartner, and we're here in the PE building right now. The women's basketball team is practicing just inside, and while their season is going to get started in the coming weeks, a couple of teams are wrapping up their fall seasons. Last week, the BSU football team fell to number 1 Mankato 47-20, and while that loss definitely wasn't what BSU wanted, they have a chance to go 3-0 in their final 3 games. They go on the road to St. Cloud State on Saturday, where St. Cloud State is coming off of a 3-game winning streak, hoping to make it 4. BSU looking to hope to end their own losing streak at 2 games. Then BSU will come home for a final 2 football games against Minnesota State Moorhead and Minot State. Both games, obviously the final 3 games of the season, will be in the Northern Division after finishing the South against Mankato. Moving on to the biggest story of campus seems this fall has been the women's soccer team on the athletic side. Now, the women's soccer team came into the season unranked and last week went to their highest ranking in program history at number 3 in the country after a tied Augustana on Sunday following a win on Friday 3-0 against Wayne State. BSU now fell to number 8, falling 5 spots in the rankings. BSU is going to have their final weekend of the regular season coming up, where they will play Moorhead on Friday and finish the season going on the road to Northern State in Aberdeen. BSU can look to clinch the NSIC regular season title and then move on to the playoffs, where they hope to get home field advantage throughout the NSIC tournament. They've had big players throughout the season. Obviously, Rachel Norton and Anna Fabi have been 2 key players for the Beavers this season. They'll hope to keep that going this weekend and throughout the postseason. For NSTV Sports, I'm CJ Baumgartner, and we'll take it back to you guys in the studio.
Thank you, CJ, for the recap on those fall sports. On this week's episode of Fishing with Eric, he meets up with another member of the BSU fishing team to learn some tips and tricks of drop shots.
Hey guys, my name is Luke Gillen with the BSU fishing team. So today we're going to talk about drop shotting, all the basics, how I tie it, what I rig on it, everything you need to know. Hopefully you guys learned something, so I'll kind of walk you through everything. And we'll show you what to do. So here's what I'll basically use on a typical drop shot. You got a drop shot weight here, a cylinder weight. It comes in and out of the cover a lot easier than other types of weights. There's a little clip on here. I'll show you what that's for later. This is a number 2 Nico hook, it's called. Basically just a straight shank hook, thin wire, easier to penetrate. And then typically just a worm. You can throw a lot of different stuff on it. You can basically throw any soft plastic you want on there, but I typically stick with the worm, either in this clear color or in more of like a chartreuse brown color to imitate a perch up here. So for the sake of the video, I'm going to show you how to tie it, but I'm going to use some bigger tackle, bigger lines so you can see it easier. And I'll go through the knots, what I tie, and everything like that, so it'll be easier for you guys to see. So like I said, we're going to take and go through how to tie the knot, how to rig it and everything, but we're going to do it with bigger lines, so hopefully you guys can see this. So you start off by doing a Palomar knot. But the one thing with the drop shot is you gotta make sure you leave at least like a foot of tag end. I'll show you why in a minute here, but go ahead and just tie a regular Palomar knot. Again, just be sure to leave a nice long tag in. So then once you got your Palomar knot done, cinch it down. And then you take your tag in. And then here's the important thing, is you got to thread it back through the eye of the hook, but come from the top and go down. This will make sure the hook stays straight when you're jigging it. So when it's tied tight, it'll actually stay straight out like that. That way the bait will stay horizontal in the water, be easier, better hookups and everything. So then once you got your tag in, you can kind of do your leader as long as you want, depending on where the fish are sitting. If they're tight to the bottom, do a shorter one, obviously. If they're sitting up a little bit higher, you can do it longer. There's no set length to it. You can kind of divvy it up however you want to. So then you take for the weight, there's a clip. You thread the line through the clip, and then you just cinch it down tight. And then now you got your hook and the weight all in the leader, and you're good to go. All right guys, so now that you know how to tie it up, I throw it on a 610 to a 7-foot medium light spinning rod. Any 2000 series reel will do just fine. I throw it on a 10-pound braid for a backing. I like yellow. You can see it a lot easier. You can detect them smaller bites. And then I'll go to like a 20-foot fluorocarbon leader, 8-pound fluorocarbon. And then that's what you tie your hook and your weight onto as well. All right guys, so that's basically what I do for drop shotting. Hopefully you guys learned something, and we'll see you back here next time.
As we get close to voting, being informed about the current representatives can be a good idea. Jacob talks some politics and sits down with Representative Matt Bliss.
Hi, this is Jacob Israel with Northern Student Television. I'm here to interview Representative Matt Bliss. He represents District 5A, which is the district which encompasses Bemidji State University. Representative Bliss, thank you for coming on the show. So could you please tell, it's great to have you here, could you please tell us a little bit about what's at stake for the students of Bemidji State University with this election?
Well, I tell you, one of the things that I've focused on in the first term was to try to understand the expenses going into college education. And what I found out is that, you hear a lot about tuition freezes. Well, that doesn't really affect the root cause of why tuition is increasing so much. One of the main problems that we've got is that administrative costs are far outpacing the rate of inflation in colleges. And with Minnesota State especially, we have several satellite colleges around the area not a vast majority, but a large percentage of the funding for Minnesota State gets sucked up by the central offices. So I'd like to see these central offices get a little bit decentralized, push a little bit more back to the BSU. And also, one of the things I'm looking forward to doing this year is working with some Bemidji State students and having them come up with look at a macro, what it costs for college students to go to college these days. Housing, food, tuition, books was one of the big issues. With the technology we have today, there's no reason why we couldn't use ebooks and save the college students a lot of money. So I'm going to work with some college students this year and try to get a bill drafted by the college students and have them come down and testify.
That's all we have for you today, folks, so we will see you next Friday. I'm Josie Terry, and you've been watching Northern Student TV.